MTC. EBS Reading Power, 2020, Chapter 5 Environment and Health Exercise 1. Most Americans get more than enough protein. The daily dietary requirement for an adult is 0.8 grams of protein per kilogram, 2.2 pounds, of body weight. 2.2, 0.8. That equates to about 64 grams a day of protein for a 175-pound man and 47 grams a day for a 130-pound woman. 17564, 13047. Roughly, you can take your weight in pounds and divide that number in half, and that would be the number of grams of protein required in your diet. That's really not very much protein, and many Americans get double this amount. For example, a 1-pound steak, not unusual in restaurants, supplies 100 grams of protein all by itself. 1100. MTC. Good job. Let's start. MTC. EBS Reading Power, 2020, Chapter 5 Environment and Health Exercise 2. Excessive stress at work may produce a number of diseases like heart attacks, high blood pressure, mental stress, etc. Does it mean that we should avoid hard work because it is stressful? The answer is a big no. On the contrary, people who do not work hard are lazy and catch more diseases. Take the example of Mr. A. He was a busy executive and worked hard to achieve his goals, but sometime after reaching the top, he became rather lazy, took things easy and stopped taking care of his diet and work routine. Before that he was a hard worker and remained healthy, but now as he had left his hard work routine, he became ill and suffered a heart attack. Mr. A fell victim to illness not because of hard work but due to a lack of work. MTC. Good job. Let's start. MTC. EBS Reading Power, 2020, Chapter 5 Environment and Health Exercise 3. Water is a necessary resource to sustain life on this planet. We are blessed to have 70% of our planet covered with this resource. 70. However, at the same time, we are not so fortunate because only 3% of this is available as fresh water for human activity, in the household, agriculture, and industry. 3. In the process industries, we use water, for washing operations, for steam generation, and for other process uses. This results in large quantities of wastewater, which is also contaminated and therefore difficult to dispose of without causing environmental damage. Thus, it is necessary to look at ways to both reduce consumption of fresh water and minimize discharge with the ultimate aim of zero discharge while minimizing the capital and operating costs of doing so. MTC. Good job. Let's start. MTC. EBS Reading Power, 2020, Chapter 5 Environment and Health Exercise 4. Critics cite as problematic the volume of advertisements children view on a daily basis, especially television commercials. Recent estimates are that today's child views between 20,000 and 40,000 television commercials each year. 2-4. According to Kunkel and Gantz's 1992 paper, food products make up roughly half the ads viewed by adolescents. Kunkel-Gantz 1992. Sugary cereals are the most frequently advertised product on television. Other food products often marketed during youth television programming include candy, snacks, cookies, and sodas. In contrast, very few commercials promote healthy food options such as fruits and vegetables. In summary, snack, convenience, and fast foods dominate advertising to children, especially during the television programs children watch the most. MTC. Good job. Let's start. MTC. EBS Reading Power, 2020, Chapter 5 Environment and Health Exercise 5. Unlike with asteroids, there's no $2 to $3 billion, 10-year NASA program to avoid the impact of storms and other extreme climatic events like floods and droughts. 203010 NASA. Nor is there a quick fix for less dramatic events like the ever faster rising seas. As a first line of defense, higher seawalls would surely help. 1. But they can go only so far for so long. Higher seas make storm waves more powerful, and higher seas themselves come with plenty of costs of their own. Imagine standing in the harbor of your favorite coastal city. Then imagine standing there at the end of the century with sea levels having risen by 1 meter. 1. It will only be a matter of time before higher seawalls won't do, when the only option will be moving back. MTC. Good job. Let's start. MTC. EBS Reading Power, 2020, Chapter 5 Environment and Health Exercise 6. Box turtles are fairly small, having an adult maximum length of 10-18 cm. 10-18. Their range is restricted to North America, with the eastern species located over most of the eastern United States and the western species located in the central and southwestern United States and into Mexico. Both species are highly variable in coloration and pattern, ranging from a uniform tan to dark brown or black, with yellow spots or streaks. They prefer a dry habitat such as woodlands or prairies. They typically inhabit sandy soil, but are sometimes found in springs or ponds during hot weather. During the winter, they hibernate in the soil below the frost line, often as deep as 60 centimeters. 60. They feed on insects, earthworms, slugs, fruits, berries, leaves, and mushrooms. MTC. Good job. Let's start. MTC. EBS Reading Power, 2020, Chapter 5 Environment and Health Exercise 7. Warming winter temperatures, particularly in northern coastal areas, could be a boon for marine transportation. Fewer days below freezing would reduce problems with ice accumulation on vessels and docks, the occurrence of dangerous ice fog, and the likelihood of ice jams in ports. The striking thinning and overall downward trend in the extent of Arctic sea ice are regarded as a major opportunity for shippers. In the short term, continued reduction in Arctic sea ice should result in more ice-free ports, improved access to both ports and natural resources in remote areas, and longer shipping seasons. In the longer term, shippers are looking forward to new Arctic shipping routes that could provide significant cost savings in shipping times and distances. MTC. Good job. Let's start. MTC. EBS Reading Power, 2020, Chapter 5 Environment and Health Exercise 8. The development of agriculture enabled the growth of human population. Fields for crops and animals were able to produce much larger yields per hectare than could be found through gathering and hunting. An increasing population required the clearing of more land for agriculture. For millennia, the solution was to bum forests and to turn them into fields. Thus, much of Europe's temperate forest was already destroyed by medieval times. However, the magnitude of agriculture before the year 1700 was so small that the carbon cycle did not clearly respond to this increasing destruction of forests. 1700. After the late 1700s, as a result of the Industrial Revolution, a slowly increasing trend in atmospheric CO2 concentration can be seen. 1700. And since that time, industrialization has been intense and almost always based on energy released from fossil fuels. The atmosphere has responded very clearly. The CO2 concentration in the atmosphere has increased by 100 ppm since those times. 100 ppm. MTC. Good job. Let's start. MTC. EBS Reading Power, 2020, Chapter 5 Environment and Health Exercise 9. In 2002, a landmark study was published in the British Journal of Psychiatry by Bernard Gesh. 2002 Bernard Gesh British Journal of Psychiatry. The Young Prisoners Study reported that offenders were often inclined to choose foods lacking in essential nutrients which could influence their behaviors. Therefore, he conducted a double-blind, placebo-controlled study of the effect of dietary supplementation with physiologically adequate amounts of vitamins, minerals, and fatty acids. He divided a population of 231 prisoners ages of 18 and 21 years into two groups, one receiving placebos and one receiving a selection of vitamins, minerals, and fatty acids, here referred to as nutrients, for 4 months. 1821-231, 4. Investigators then tracked offenses among the inmates. At the conclusion of the study, prisoners receiving placebos showed no change in baseline behaviors, while prisoners receiving nutrients improved markedly. Among those receiving nutrients, there were 26% fewer violations overall, with serious breaches of conduct, including violence, reduced by 37%. 2637 MTC. Good job. Let's start. MTC. EBS Reading Power, 2020, Chapter 5 Environment and Health Exercise 10. One of the first issues raised when it comes to eliminating unhealthy fast food is whether it is necessary to completely remove it from the diet. Many people have turned down my vice-busting approach to weight management because they don't think they need to completely give up the foods they like. While I am not saying you can't enjoy food, the problem is that you may have been enjoying it too much at the expense of healthy eating. You need to eat to fuel your body and its functions, and while eating is pleasurable, I can't tell you that it's okay to have some of this or that food vice. If you allow yourself some, you'll probably want more. So let me remind you of what I've always said about this so-called eating in moderation. It is very difficult to have just one bite of the food you love without slipping back to old habits and addictions. MTC. Good job. Let's start. MTC. EBS Reading Power, 2020, Chapter 5 Environment and Health Exercise 11. Numerous studies demonstrate the health benefits of volunteering, which include lowered blood pressure, increased self-esteem, lessened feelings of social isolation, a strengthened immune system, and reduced stress. Even a relatively small time commitment can make a difference, according to a study that identified the health benefits to senior citizens of less than 1 hour of volunteering per week. Volunteering is beneficial to everyone, but most especially to those who are out of the workplace, such as retirees, the unemployed, and stay-at-home parents or spouses. These people, who can easily become isolated, may reap the largest benefits because of the social connections gained through volunteering. What's more, taking on an authority role may add esteem-boosting professionalism, mastery, and competence to one's sense of self. MTC. Good job. Let's start. MTC. EBS Reading Power, 2020, Chapter 5 Environment and Health Exercise 12. The Akimel-o-Atom and Tohono-O'odham, the peoples that European settlers called Pima and Papago, of Arizona were virtually free from diabetes until 2 generations ago. Arizona Akimel-o-Atom Tohono-O'odham, Pima Papago, 2. Before the 20th century, they had lived on desert foods such as mesquite meal, wild greens, and cactus buds and fruits, and on traditional crops, maize, locally grown wheat, beans, squash, and chilies. 20. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, they lost most of their land and almost all the water needed to irrigate what land they kept. 1920. After World War II, they were progressively incorporated into the wider society of Arizona. 2. Arizona. This led to the expected lifestyle and dietary changes. Alcoholism, previously very rare, became more common. Sugar and white flour replaced traditional foods. Today most adults suffer from diabetes, and life expectancy is falling as the disease extracts its dreadful toll in heart and kidney failure and in necrosis. MTC. Good job.